So I'm going to show you how to solve some two-step equations using SADMEG, GEMDOS reversed. So looking at this one, the first thing we want to undo is the addition and the subtraction. You can see right here I have -8, so I see subtraction, I'm going to do addition. What I do on the left, I do on the right. I have 5 over 6y on the left is equal to 25 on the right. We learned that when we have a coefficient that's a fraction, you can get rid of that by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal. What I do on the left, I do on the right. I'm left with 1y is equal to 150 over 5. So y is equal to 30. I can check my work by substituting 30 back into the original equation. And both sides should be equal when I do that. So I have 5 over 6 times 30 minus 8 is equal to 17. And you're going to evaluate this expression on the left using GEMDOS. When you evaluate it, it should be equal to 17. And I'm going to show you how to check that on Desmos now. So we have 5 over 6, 5, divided by 6. I'm going to use my right arrow key to navigate out of the fraction. I'm going to multiply that times 30 and subtract 8, and it should be equal to 17, which you can see here that it is. Okay, let's try another one. Now remember that it doesn't matter, right? We have a property that says that I can have this either on the left or on the right, and I can switch whatever's on the equal sign. So if you don't like the way this looks, you can rewrite it like this. You don't have to, but you can if you want to, as long as what was here ends up over here and vice versa. So I see addition. I'm going to do subtraction. I'm left with negative 9x on the left, and I'm left with negative 81 on the right. I see multiplication. So I'm going to do division. What I do on the left, I do on the right. And I find that x is equal to positive 9. Now, I can check this by substituting 9 back into the original equation. Here we go. So everywhere that I see x, I can use 9 instead. And it should be equal to negative 80. Negative 81 plus 1, and negative 80 is equal to negative 80. So this is correct. And I can check that using Desmos. So I'm looking for it to be negative 80. I have negative 9 times 9, which is the number I found, plus 1, and it should equal negative 80, which it does. So we've done this correctly. Okay, guys, this is the last one we'll do together. And this is the one that people always find very tricky. So what you need to keep in mind is what I told you before. Fraction bars create groups. And remember, we're undoing subtraction and addition, multiplication and division, then exponents, then grouping. So what's the last thing we need to undo? The last thing we need to undo is the grouping. Okay? I don't see any subtraction and addition to start with. because of this group. This is inside the group, so that's the last thing we're going to undo. So we need to undo the division and multiplication first. I see division, so I'm going to undo that with multiplication. What I do on the left, I do on the right. Why do I see division? Well, because it's a fraction, and in algebra, division looks like fractions. So I am left with x plus 9 on the left, which is equal to 24. Now I can undo this grouping. So I can undo this by subtracting 9 from both sides, and x is equal to 15. And I'm going to check this in Desmos with a feature. It's kind of a fun feature. You can do it as long as you don't use x or y as variables. Those are defined in Desmos. But here we have x plus 9. Instead of x, I'm going to use b, maybe for Miss B, plus 9, which is what we started. Whoops, plus 9. And remember, that was in a group, which we can see here. So I'm going to divide that by 3. I'm going to add a slider. Okay. And what did I find x to be? Well, I found x to be 15. So I'm going to set my slider to 15. And when I do that, this should be equal to 15. It's just kind of a different way that you can do GEMDOS. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to set my slider to 15, and it should be equal to 8, which is what we started with. So you can see over here that we started with x plus 9 divided by 3 is equal to 8. That means whatever I found in here for x, when I substitute it in, it should also be equal to 8. So using Desmos, I've added a slider and set it to the number that I found it equal to be, which was 15, and sure enough, 8 is equal to 8. So we've done this correctly.